Farewell then, Keir Starmer. You tried to cancel local elections. You arrested 24,000 people for posts on the internet. You destroyed 300,000 businesses in your 2-year tenure. You increased unemployment up by 4.9%. Borrowing went high. We've got the highest level of borrowing since World War II. We are at Marshall levels of borrowing. Inflation rose. The NHS waiting list apparently went down, but that's just because people died while waiting. Record number of channel crossings. Record number of channel crossing, far higher than anything under the previous government. You lied to Trump about free speech. You lied through your teeth about free speech in this country. There's a great tradition of free speech in this country, President Trump. You abolished NHS England. You didn't. And you established 27 more quangos. You, let's not forget about the winter fuel allowance being axed. We've got the highest cost of electricity in the world, in the developed world. You faked a 22 billion pound financial hole. It's like, oh, we suddenly discovered there's a 22 billion pound hole in our finances. Really? Really? Don't believe that. Don't believe that. You sanctioned 4 more years of hotels for illegals. You've been dumping illegal immigrants on quaint villages in Oxfordshire and the Cotswolds. But let's not forget, you gave a 15% rise to junior doctors and then gave them another 22%. You gave train drivers more money. You increased NI taxes for businesses. You spent £3.4 billion on consultants. You spent billions of pounds on consultants and your premiership lasted 2 years. That did a lot of good, didn't it? That did a lot of good, didn't it? And between you and David Lammy and Shabana Mahmood, you did not deport foreign criminals and you scrapped jury trials. So besides all these things and many other great achievements by you, you've left this country in a great state. You've left this country in a better state other than all these mishaps.
The country is better off for having had him as Prime Minister. He is the one who kept the charge going when it comes to Ukraine.
His dad is a toolmaker. Really great to see you. Far better than being in Parliament.
I played football all weekend in Olympia.
So like...
Are you the Prime Minister?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
I am so proud that we leave the country in a much better state than we found it 2 years ago. On the economy, on public services, on protection for children, on defence and security, and on our international reputation in particular. That's the test for any Prime Minister. Do you leave your country in a better place than you found it? And that test and that answer is a yes.
But there's a new sheriff in town, Andrew Burnham, Andy Burnham. Andy to you. Andy Burnham is the new Prime Minister. We did not vote for him, but here he is. He's got a mandate apparently. And he got right to business as soon as he got in because there was pressing business, the pressing business of £2 bus fares. The economy may be in freefall, but Andy has got to address the pressing issue of £2 bus fares. Borrowing may be up there, up to our heads in it, but Andy has got to address this pressing issue of £2 bus fares. There may be wars that we're involved in, Ukraine that we must come out of, but Andy has got to address the £2 bus fare. As soon as he got off the phone with President Trump, I'm the new kid in town. Well, maybe not the new kid in town. I'm the new sheriff in town. Hope to work with you, President Trump, to make things better. But I must not keep you, or I cannot stay on this phone. I've got to attend to the pressing business of £2 bus fares. This country needs a cap on bus fares, £2. And this has become such a huge issue. For a start, who's going to fund this £2 cap? Andy Burnham doesn't know. His ministers don't know. But they've just said, we'll work it out. Somewhere, somehow, we'll find money for this cap on £2 bus fares, i.e., taxpayer, stump it up. Taxpayer, you're going to stump up for this.
Right, let's talk about this announcement, shall we? Bus fares capped at £2. What's the idea? Can you just explain to me how it's funded? Because I looked at the release, right? £400 million of the funding will come from switching investments set aside for international climate finance to loans, which will give us more flexible ways to meet our international climate objectives.
Yeah.
In English,
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So it means that £400 million had been allocated in the budget of the Department for Energy, Security and Net Zero. And some of that £400 million goes to funding projects in other parts of the world which can assist with tackling climate change. Now, it had initially been the intention that that money would be given as grants. So you pay the money to fund a project in a developing country and you don't get that money back. We're switching that process so that it is now a loan, so that the money will then be paid back to the British government. Now, actually,
Will there be interest on those loans?
So look, the detail of it needs to be worked through, but in order for loans to qualify as overseas development assistance, the terms of the loan need to be reasonably favourable to the developing country, and it needs to contribute to developing that country's economy. And so it makes sense to switch the spending. Instead of it being a grant, it will be a loan, and then that frees up money to spend on domestic priorities and spend on our public transport.
I don't want to interrupt, but there's just a couple of things I just want... Because you say there on the interest, I know that you're saying the details need to be worked out, but it feels like that is quite a fundamental one, because if you look at, to be completely honest, the West's track record of loaning money to developing nations, you can see why people might have anxiety about that, right? So do we know if there's going to be interest or not?
So this is quite standard to have loans for international climate finance. As I say, the detail will need to be worked out. We wanted to make the announcement today. It's a really big priority for the new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, to help with the everyday cost of living.
Yeah.
And so,
I understand.
as I said to you,
just trying to get the details of, because this is all...
Sophie, you will appreciate that I'm not going to sit in your studio and tell you how something will work when the detail hasn't yet been worked
I'm really
through.
sorry. I'm not.
But the point that I have made to you,
Heidi,
and I will repeat, is that in order for loans to actually count towards your ODA budget, your Overseas Development Assistance budget, then the terms on which those loans are given do need to be reasonably favourable to the developing country. We're not wanting to fleece anyone here, and we actually want to maximise the development potential of this money that is available. And so it is in line with what a number of other countries do on international climate finance.
If I could just come in again.
But you'll forgive me.
Heidi, I'm not
going to give you the detail because I don't have the detail to give you.
Heidi, if you just spoke in slightly shorter answers, we could have more of a conversation here. The problem, I really don't want to interrupt you, and I understand that completely. But I also want to try and get through some of the things I want to get through in the interview, if that's okay as well.
No problem.
I don't think it's unreasonable, by the way, for asking for detail of the government announcement that you've given to us to talk about today.
And I have given you information. I've set out that the cost of the money, the new money that the Department for Energy, Security and Net Zero is giving is £454 million. £54 million of that is an underspend within the existing budget. £400 million is switching the money that was previously going to be given out in grants to climate finance projects in developing countries is now going to be given out in loans, so some of that money comes back in. The precise detail that you're asking me about the nature of interest that would be applied to those loans, I don't have. that information will be worked through. I'd be very happy to come back and speak to you again about it in the future.
If Andy Burnham cannot even make a coherent plan about capping £2 bus fares, ultimately that just comes from the taxpayer. Whichever way you look at it, someone has to pay for these £2 bus fares, and it's the taxpayer, whether through direct taxation or through quantitative easing, where the government will just print money and say, look, we printed money and we'll pay for the bus fare. That's the moral of it. And ultimately, it all lands on the shoulders of the taxpayer, either by direct taxation or taxation through inflation. This is basic economics, Andy. This is basic economics, Chancellor Healy. Someone has to pay for it. Even my 16-year-old could tell you that. Even my 16-year-old knows enough about economics to tell you that there's no such thing as a free lunch or a £2 bus fare. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. But Andy is in town, and this has become... Andy Burnham will be the Prime Minister that's defined by his £2 bus fare policy. What a way to go down. What a way to go down in history. I am Andy Burnham, King of the North, and now Supreme Lord of England. And when I get ousted, it was because I messed up economics. And I thought that I could give the whole country £2 bus fares. What a hill to die on. What a hill to die on.